We out here and we want to exist just like everybody else.
In this city, and we couldn't do that without your vote and your support, so thank you. Events like what happened at Club Q make us feel like things are getting worse for the LGBTQ community, and sometimes they are, at least for now, but not forever. Sowers of hate want us to feel helpless and alone, but we won't let them win. Our togetherness shows that things can get better, but not without a fight. Sometimes that fight is in state legislatures, including here in Tennessee, where bills targeting marriage equality, youth participation in sports, and access to health care are too numerous and persistent to count. But keep writing, keep calling, keep showing up to Capitol Hill, and most importantly, keep voting. Sometimes that fight is in school board meetings, where community members must show up to defend students' rights to talk about themselves and their families. They must fight for the right to learn about American history and the role that diverse people have played in the ongoing American work toward forming a more perfect union. Keep showing up and telling your stories. Increasingly, that fight is in public libraries. Yes, now we need this level of allyship like you have shown today to defend librarians. And too often, as in Club Q, that fight is in private businesses, where people of all walks of life, all sexual orientations, genders, and identities gather together to socialize, to support one another, and simply to have fun. This togetherness, like you are showing tonight, eschews the divisiveness upon which hate thrives. Tear down those walls. We should all be together. Sometimes that fight simply to be together is physical. Sometimes brave people have had to run toward danger to put their bodies on the line to save those of others. On Saturday night at Club Q, it wasn't a good guy with a gun, but rather the skilled hands of a well-trained Army veteran that took a gun away from a mass murderer. That veteran was aided by a drag performer whose well-placed spiked heels helped to stop the shooter and save lives. Now that shooter is in custody and can be brought to justice. I would in particular like to thank the Colorado Springs Police Department for confirming with the families of those who were killed to ensure that statements used the correct names and pronouns by which these individuals were known and loved. Respecting people's identities matters. Sadly, there are those who abuse the Bible to show hate. And I myself am a Sunday school teacher. And what I can tell you is that if you wanted to remove all books that show violence and human sexuality, the Bible would be the first to come off the shelf. But in reality, the Bible does teach love. The real words of Jesus are that in John 15, he said, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." The heroes at Club Q on Saturday night showed just this kind of love. So too must we all. Show up to stop hate and the violence that it engenders wherever it appears. We must show up for love in schools, in city halls, in state legislatures, in gathering places like this one, and yes, even at library board meetings. We must show up always and everywhere. Darkness cannot fight darkness, only light can do that, and please let your light shine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Withers. Wonderful words. I don't have much to add because he shared so much of what my thoughts are. I, like you, am grieving the loss of life and thinking of their families and their friends, thinking of the 19 who were injured and the many survivors who were traumatized by this event, which is of course senseless and, as we know, preventable. What we've learned is that we still see intolerance of the LGBTQ community. And that's even after all of the progress that we've made. We still must be cautious in the pursuit of being our true selves. There are many in this state, some just up the street at the Capitol, and now the 3 congressional representatives of our great city, who believe that they can take away our freedoms. They believe that they can take away our rights. They believe that they can bully us into hiding, bullying us into fear, not only for our safety, but once again for our lives. We need leaders who will fight for equality, not division. We need leaders who will extend freedoms, not take them away. We need leaders to be compassionate, not spiteful. We need leaders to represent us with kindness, not with slates of hate. We need leaders who will follow through on what their faith guides them to do, which is to love. As Councilmember Withers said, God said the greatest commandment of all is to love. We need leaders who will deliver on that commandment and nothing less. Tonight, the LGBTQ caucus of Nashville and Davidson County closely joins hands with our LGBTQ sisters across the city, the state, and this nation. Our colors shine bright here at the courthouse and on the KVB bridge, and also shine bright like the vibrant leaves of the our yellowwood tree, which is right here in Public Square Park, which in 2020 was dedicated to the entire LGBTQ community. You can see that in the far corner. There is a commemorative plaque, and that is standing strong and tall, just as we stand with you strong and tall. You are welcome in this city. Thank you. And now may I introduce to you our State Senator Heidi Campbell.
Thank you, and thank you to Inclusion Tennessee for organizing this event. Thank you for coming out tonight to shine your light in these very dark times. It is tough. It's tough at times like this to remember that hate is not the answer. In a state where our LGBT community is regularly attacked, with a slate of toxic anti-trans legislation already on deck for the upcoming session in the state legislature, with bills that attack gay pride celebrations and criminalize our LGBT friends and family for just existing, in a state where women's rights to control our own bodies has been taken away from us, in a state where we know that gay marriage is on the chopping block as soon as SCOTUS kicks it back to the states, in a state where racism, sexism, and prejudice are thriving, it is tough. It is tough to remember that hate is not the answer. A vigil is a time for wakefulness during threatening times. And if there ever was a time for wakefulness for us to be aware, that time is certainly now. We honor Richard Fierro, the hero who took down the killer and did it without a gun. We honor him because he took action, because he did something about it. A true hero who answered the call of duty. The time has come for all of us to take action, for all of us to answer the call, because in Tennessee, we are fighting for our lives and our future, and it is just as real as last Saturday night in Club Q in Colorado Springs. We just had an election in Tennessee, and only 30. If you choose love, to fight for our rights to love whoever we want to love, to control our own bodies, to read what we want to, and to be treated without prejudice, if that matters to you, then fight for it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Heidi Campbell. Thank you so very much. Hello, my name is Matt Cuffington, and I'm your Nashville Pride President. And normally I would be very wordy tonight, but I kind of have a very short words to share with you today. It is with a very heavy heart that I stand here today. Nashville Pride would like to send their condolences, our love, our support, our strength to Club Q, the families and friends, and all of the victims and all those affected by this horrific tragedy. But it's with a strong mind that I tell you that this is why Nashville Pride and prides across the country exist. We are here to be visible for those that no longer present. We are here to march for those who can no longer march. We are here for those that are lost and alone. We are here to continue to provide pride so that you can always be your authentic self. This is why pride is important. This is why this vigil is important. This is why it is important to stand up and stand out. We will continue to celebrate pride for our past, the present, and the future. We won't let anything stop us. Thank you.
Is the sanctuary of authenticity that was previously found there. Hate had no place there. People from all over the community, regardless of gender identity or sexuality, race or ethnicity, religion or belief, could come together and find joy while being their authentic selves. What they did not do was go to become a martyr. It has become an unspoken understanding that whenever we go out, we might not have the luxury of just dancing. We might not find the sanctuary we seek. We might become martyrs. We might not make it home to those we love. We might end up at another vigil honoring those who just wanted to dance. I, for one, am exhausted. I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of the mental gymnastics to figure out if the night of fun is worth a lifetime of mourning. I stand tonight to give a eulogy and a requiem. May their memory be a blessing and their loss of life not be in vain. As I stand tonight, I pray for peace. I pray for a level of understanding, but most importantly, I pray that this is the end of mourning for lives lost so unnecessarily. Tonight, we remember those we lost. Kelly Loving, Daniel Aston, Derrick Rump, Ashely Paugh, Raymond Green Vance. We honor those who fought, Thomas James and Richard Ferrero. We hope for healing for those injured. We stand together in a tender hope that we do not have to stand together like this again. We will not be silent and we will not hide. They mattered. We all matter. Let tonight be the start of a renewed passion to be a sanctuary for one another. As we mourn, please know you do not mourn alone. There are people here who have offered their support as grief counselors, so no one has to suffer in silence. Take tonight, remember those we lost, and tomorrow, fight anew.
Thank you so much, Amy. Good evening, everyone. My name is Terry Vo, and I'm the board president of the Nashville LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Over a year and a half ago, I stood in this exact place on March 21st, 2021, to lead the Protect Asian Lives Vigil after the Atlanta mall shootings, and we're back. And tonight I stand before you to honor the LGBT community, the lives lost, the almost 24 injured, and those mourning, including some with survivor's guilt in Colorado Springs. This may have happened in Colorado, but we are all one family, one community, and an attack against any of us is an attack against all of us. One of the pillars of the chamber is to advocate, and we can no longer afford to be silent against gun violence as an LGBT issue. From Pulse and now Club Q, attacks using deadly firearms that are so easily available are killing the LGBTQ plus community. LGBTQ plus people deserve to live without fear. LGBTQ plus people deserve to dance without fear. And LGBTQ plus people deserve to shop at businesses without fear. May we use our collective power to speak up and out against gun violence. Our friends, our families, our children deserve a world that is far more safer than the one we live in today. To all the allies in the crowd, remember to keep showing up. Remember to keep speaking out and supporting your friends in the LGBTQ community. Check on them tonight, tomorrow, and then again a month from now. May we all remember that as long as we support each other, and as others have said before me, and no one is alone, we will get through this. We are stronger together, and may we continue to keep rising up against hate and violence with unity and love. Thank you so much.
I'm David Taylor, and for the past 20 years I've been a co-owner of Tribe and Play on Church Street with my business partners Joe Brown, Todd Roman, and the late Keith Blades. And like many of you, the Pulse nightclub massacre left a permanent hole in my heart that terrible night in June 6 years ago. It seems like yesterday when we all got together just like this and prayed that no one would ever have to experience that type of terror again. And yet here we are, mourning another senseless murder spree in one of our community's safe spaces. Last night I saw the faces of those killed at Club Q for the first time. And when I saw the faces of those beautiful human beings, I saw each of you. I saw our employees, our customers, our friends, our allies, our parents. I saw our people, our wonderfully diverse LGBTQ plus family. And the hole in my heart just opened a little more. Our community has long known the grief from acts of hatred. Before Orlando and Colorado Springs, there was the upstairs lounge arson fire, the assassination of Harvey Milk, the blind eye given to the AIDS plague, the civic brutality and public humiliations that led to the Stonewall riots and our LGBT equality movement, the murders of Matthew Shepard, Brandon Tina, and countless others, and the merciless attacks against our transgender brothers and sisters that seem to happen every day. It's a big burden, and sometimes I know it feels like it's enough to break our spirit and send us back into our closets. But that's not who we are, and that's not what we do. We're too resilient. We've been through too much, and we've come too far to stop getting up when our community is knocked down. And we have a secret weapon. It's the theme tonight. The foundation of our community has always been the love and acceptance of each other as we truly are. We have long known that love and acceptance are far more powerful than bigotry and hatred. And it's one reason that our clubs are special to us. Everyone is welcome there, and everyone is free to be themselves. Our Tennessee community is going to face many challenges next year, and we're going to stand together and fight with you to fight Senator Johnson and the Republicans' hateful bills against trans health and their attempts to criminalize our drag queens. These reckless bills hurt all of us. But regardless of what we may face, I want you to know that Tribe and Play, and I know also that Lipstick Lounge and Canvas and Peckers and Tracks, QDP and Sweet Tea and every other welcoming place in our community will always offer a joyful home for our people to be themselves. And we will never allow anyone to take that from us. Whatever we face, they will never steal our joy, nor will they destroy our community. We pray for the folks in Colorado Springs. We celebrate the lives that were lost, and I hope that we never have to gather together like this again.
Hey everybody, my name is Odessa Kelly. Sorry I didn't have anything prepared for tonight. I just came from a funeral, a homecoming for someone who just passed away. Lived to a very old age, and all I could think about as they were talking about this individual, giving the eulogy about their life, is how they got to fully exist as themselves and live their entire life. All these wonderful stories about what this individual did from their children and from family and from friends, and we have entirely too many individuals who will never get to experience that because of fucking labels. I'm so sick of labels, y'all. I cannot stand it. I am a proud member of the LGBTQ community, but guess what? LGBTQ people, we are just people. We black, we white, we human, we stressed out, we workers, we veterans, we work in kitchens, we teachers, we nurses, we're veterans, we're everything that everybody else is. This is gonna happen again. We have made our lives political fucking footballs, and I'm tired of it. That's what this has become. You got 5 people who are dead just so somebody can have a leg up and trying to win a political seat in office. When does this end? When does this end? It don't end unless we do something about it, and you got to step up in every way that you possibly can. And that's not just voting. It should be 1 million people out here today. There was an individual earlier that asked me if I was going to this vigil. I was like, yeah, are you coming? He's like, no, I don't want people to think that I'm gay. God damn. We just people. We out here and we want to exist just like everybody else. We got to stand out here and do this again. I'm black, I'm gay, I'm female, I'm an ally. You know how many times I've been out here? I was out here in March with you sis for AARP. I've been out here before for other LGBTQ members who done lost their lives. As a black woman, I've been out here entirely too many times for the things that have happened, for the color of my skin and for my fucking gender. Excuse me for all the cussing, but I can't be nothing but mad. I am a pissed off, angry black woman tonight, and everyone out here should be pissed too. It could have easily been any of us. I got kids to take care of. I got a family to go home to. And you telling me that I'm putting my and their lives online by trying to want to do the best thing to move our democracy forward? By just fully existing and being 100% me? Man, come on. I'm tired of everyone being nice and polite about this, of all the times that it's happened to entirely too many people. You go to work beside gay people every day. Some of y'all sleeping by gay people every day. You pray with gay people every day. You fight with gay people every damn day. We stick it up for this country. We stick it up for this city. We stick it up for this state. We do all of everything that everybody else does. Everything that everybody else does is what we do. Yet I got to take out of the time of my day to come in and do this. This got to end. To the 5 individuals that lost their life, I will be dancing for you this weekend. That I promise you. To the 2 individuals who were heroes and stepped up to stop this massacre, thank you for stepping up, but I hate that you had to step up. We got a man who may have had this, help me out y'all, PTSD. Thank you. PTSD may have had it triggered again. Why? Out of hatred? Out of hatred. Hatred of what? People ain't got nothing better to do with their time? Can someone really be thinking all day about who I'm trying to sleep with? The toxic masculinity that is just as soaked and drenched into our institutions and we've normalized in cultures the same way we have as racism has got to be called out, because that's what this is rooted in. The fact that we have let the so-called evangelicals and the Christians use our lives as political footballs and move forward in how they are trying to destroy this country has got to be called out. You got to call it out in your churches. You got to call it out at work. You got to call it out at home. You cannot let this stand anymore. Justice is justice. This is happening across the country right now. Everywhere, people are having vigils for this senseless act of hate that happened once again in 2022, once again, once again, once again. I believe, like we said this every year, once again. Faith without works is dead. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Be prepared, be prepped for what you know is coming, for the fight that you got to do. If you got to be uncomfortable, then be in an uncomfortable place. It's too many of us out here that have to ignore the uncomfortability just to exist and to live. The least you can do is lean our way a little bit. With all the frustration that I have inside, let me say this. I love you. I naturally love most people until you give me a reason not to. And even then, I'm still looking for a reason to love you. And that's the majority of the people that I know who don LGBTQ. That's part of one of the labels that other people have to identify us by. To Nashville, I love you. To Tennessee, I love you. To Colorado Springs, I love you. To this country, I love you. Learn to love us back.
You know, in Mark 3, Jesus grows angry. And Jesus grows angry at a hardness of heart. The Apostle Paul, in 1 Corinthians 13, reminds us that our knowledge is partial. Our sermons, our theology, they're foggy, unclear, like a bad mirror. But then Paul turns and pivots and brings maybe some of the most beautiful words of Scripture. Now faith, hope, and love remain. That's all that really matters. These three things. And the greatest of these is love. Paul also says in Romans 8, who will separate us from the love of God? Will affliction or distress or persecution, famine or nakedness, or peril, or gun violence? And then Paul makes this shift that often we skip when we preachers are preaching. He says, for your sake we are being killed all day long. And so tonight we remember, no, in all these terrible times even, we are still victorious because God has loved us. And Paul says, I'm convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else will be able to separate us from the love of God. I'm Pastor Paul Perdue of Belmont United Methodist Church here in Nashville. My pronouns are he and him, and I am deeply humbled. And I want to apologize for the harm that so many misguided churches have done to the LGBTQI community. Tonight we come to our public square, this City Square to express our lament over the terrible violence and loss of life at Club Q. We come lamenting the sense of loss of a sanctuary for queer people, not just in one safe space in Colorado, but the generalized sense of uneasiness that every terrorist hopes to sow into the world. We come to rebuke every demonizing, dehumanizing force of judgment, hatred, and violence. And we come to light a candle and remind the world that love always wins. Love, acceptance, and community must win, for anything less than those is a loss for everyone. And so we come to light and lift high the candle of love, illumination, and inclusion. We come to lament, and we must lament to be whole, to be human, to be healed. In John 11, Jesus weeps over the loss of not just his friend Lazarus, but God weeps with the grief of Lazarus' sisters, Mary and Martha, and God weeps with the community's collective grief. And so tonight we grieve, we remember, and we honor Raymond Green Vance, Kelly Loving, Daniel Ashton, Derrick Rump, Ashely Paugh. And as we say these names, we remember all the victims of violence, judgment, homophobia, transphobia, racism, and every other system and every other kind of act of hatred. And we pray and we ask, Lord, bring comfort. Help us to treasure the beauty and sacred worth of their life. For they were and are your children, created in the image of God, beloved, beautiful, and blessed. We come to our public square to collectively mourn the loss of the sense of sanctuary that arises when hate temporarily disrupts a place of community and acceptance. We come to lament all those who this day feel less safe. You know, the Gospels tell us that Jesus weeps over a capital city. Jesus says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who murder the prophets, if only you knew the things that lead to peace, but your eyes are closed. Jesus weeps for the kind of systemic injustice that we lament today. Jesus, like a mother, longs to gather up all people, clutching them to his breast, like a mother hen spreads out her wings to shelter and warm chicks as predators lurk and winter winds blow. And so we pray, Lord, hear our prayer of lament for our sense of loss of safety and community. Save us from the forces that divide, dehumanize, and demonize our God-given differences. Renew our courage to be who you created us to be. Help us to stand up, rise up, and lift our voices in celebration of everyone's belovedness, uniqueness, humanity, and dignity. But you know, it's not enough to pray. It's not enough to mourn or retreat in fear. The prophets always call us to lift up our voices and address injustice. Jesus flipped over tables in protest. And if we claim to love our neighbors as ourselves, then we must raise our voices against the evil of hatred, intolerance, and injustice and oppression. We must act, and sometimes we must act up to break the cycles of exclusion, demonization, and dehumanization. This is an act of solidarity with those who have been lost to violence and hate. You know, in Genesis 4, God says to the first murderer, your sibling's brother blood cries out from the ground to God, crying out for justice, reconciliation, and restoration. So we must say to the preachers, the politicians, and the media personalities who try to fill pews or ballot boxes or gain followers by weaponizing differences, you are doing real harm, either by hard-hearted ignorance or evil design. Amen. We must also call out our idolization of guns over lives. You know, friends, our words deeply matter. Everyone's words matter. And you cannot target trans people or demonize the queer children of God with your voice and escape responsibility when deeply troubled people add specific action to the hatred that you spoke into the world. Stop judging. Speak peace. Learn to light candles that shine love and illuminate the beauty of each person. Tonight we lament the loss of our friends' lights to this world, and we lift up a candle high, and we celebrate their God-given beauty. Tonight we lament the effect of every hard-hearted word uttered by those afraid of differences and unable to access enough self-love to welcome and love others. Tonight we light a light of love. We shine a light of hope. Faith in God, faith in one another, and faith in love. Look around. Look around. There are people who love you here tonight. Tonight we remember that love wins because love must win. We remember that we are loved. Each of us is beloved and beautiful, created in God's image. Tonight we light a candle and hold it high, proclaiming the dignity, the shared humanity, and the beauty of every life. And we vow to allow love to win in our lives and to work so that loving kindness and welcome might become a reality in our laws, our legislatures, our churches, our clubs, our schools, and our social media. So friends, we are made by love. And we are made for love. And yes, sometimes, as our sister Odessa reminded us, we must be strong and flip things over. But let us remember to love one another and to work hard until love wins for all of God's beautiful, queer, straight, and every other kind of person.
Umacha Hashem Dima Me'al Kol Haaretz B'cherpat Amo Yasir Me'al Kol Haaretz Ve'amar Bayom Ahu Hinei Elokeinu Zeh Hashem Kivinu La Nagila V'nismecha Bishu Ato Nai 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 Na 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 Umacha Hashem Dima Me'al Kol Panim, that God will wipe away the tears from all the faces, and the reproach of people will God take away from all the earth. We stand together with this community to share in the pain of this moment, in the pain of these past days. There are two things on my mind tonight. As a rabbi, I serve as an ambassador from the Jewish community. My community has also suffered acts of terror, hatred, violence, all kinds of horrors and atrocities. And tonight we remember and we lift up those victims who just lost their lives in a dance club in a free country in 2022. In a moment that should have been joyous and carefree, but instead turned into utter darkness, pain, hell. We remember and we lift up those who lost their lives: Raymond, Kelly, Daniel, Derrick, and Ashely. We also lift up the wounded, both physical and emotional. You don't need to have broken bones, or a bruised rib, or a cast, or a bloody bandage, or a blind eye to be wounded. Everyone was wounded. Nobody walks away from these horrors the same. In Hebrew, we use the word shalem, whole. After these horrors, nobody is whole. Nobody is shalem. And so we lift up all those who are wounded. Furthermore, the community of victims is not limited to those who were in Colorado Springs at the club that night, but everyone else who felt attacked. And so we're not talking about dozens of victims, but hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of victims. Together, the pain is shared. Together we mourn. Together we strive to do better. And the second point I wanted to share with you all is about being a minority. I'm part of a minority, a tiny minority that comprises less than 1% of the population of the United States and less than 0.1% of the population worldwide. And even though many Jews share genes, and even though many of us share values, and even though some of us share beliefs and traditions, we're all different. We're not the same. It's the haters that see us all as the same. Our differences don't matter. Our souls don't matter to them. What matters to them is that we exist. What matters to us, though, is that we stick together. Even when we don't always see eye to eye, even when commonalities aren't apparent, even when experiences aren't shared, it is their hate that brings us together. It's the pain, though, that makes us one. And so tonight I say to this community, a community that has also been hit hard way too many times, that it's the haters that will bring you together. It's the pain that will make you one. But only through that oneness, that unity, that extreme love and support is a better tomorrow, even a possibility for any of us. I asked God to shower love and blessing and compassion down upon you at this time. We stand together tonight to uplift the souls and spirits of Colorado Springs, but not only Colorado Springs. We stand together to show our love to all the families who will be missing loved ones this Thanksgiving. We cry with you, we mourn with you, we pray with you, and we love you.
For the Tennessee Equality Project, my name is Darren Johnson. Yes, we shall gather by the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the... This can't again be the time. We can't again be standing in this place. Yet here we are, once more, gathering to honor those whose lives have been cut short, whose songs have been ended too soon. And even as we hold our candles and lift our hearts with those fallen and hurting, even as we support and embrace each other, it's understandable if we might find ourselves asking if our days, weeks, lifetimes of struggle and sleepless nights and anxious days and tears and pain are worth it all. To be shaken by such thoughts, to find oneself in such a despairing mood. I mean, you know, I get it. It's okay to wonder at times if our efforts aren't futile. And yet, here we are, for and with each other, offering solace, extending care, reigniting hope. No matter what shakes us, when the violence of others' words or laws or deadly actions target us in our places of rest and refuge, in our sanctuaries, when we feel our very foundations might be drowned by tears, we stay standing. After all, while there may be a time for weeping, even as much as we might be living that out right now, our community is not, nor has it ever been, one that can be swept away or undone by such violence or such moments. Look around you. Really, look around for the evidence of that. I've also seen this instinct to gather and support and action in my work with the Tennessee Equality Project. People showing up in the halls and committee rooms of our state legislature. Folks speaking out in school board and city council meetings across the state. Even as we speak, there are over 20 postcard writing parties, sending notes to state legislators to withdraw their bills, coalescing into yet another slate of hate that are being organized in places all across Tennessee. But tonight, now, as we have so many times before, we gather to lift up the names and carry forward the spirit of those injured and killed. We gather to tend to each other and those that are hurting. And we gather to remind the world, much like those before us, that we're here, we're queer, and can't you all just get used to it already? There's a verse that I think captures this moment, our spirit, so well, and one to be sung for those whose own stanzas have been silenced. Maybe some of you know it. All of us together, we shall not be moved. All of us together, we shall not be moved, like the tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Let us stay gathered and remember together. Thank you. Following me will be Aaron Law on behalf of the Activist Theology Project.
Hi everyone. I am going to read to you a letter from my partner, Dr. Roberto Che Espinosa, who is on a plane right now coming back here and couldn't be here at this time. He says, "My dear friends, comrades, and colleagues, I'm sorry I'm not with you today to deliver these remarks in person. I'm right now traveling home to Nashville from Denver, Colorado. I'm grateful to my beloved partner who agreed to deliver these remarks in my absence. Thank you, Phil Cabucci and Inclusion Tennessee, for creating and holding this space for us in a time of great fear and mourning and growing anxiety. Like many of you, I woke Sunday to the devastating news that just 60 minutes from where I was sleeping, our siblings were murdered by accelerated forms of hate. We know in our bodies that we are being hunted by hate and indifference. But we also know inherently that we are sacred beings on this planet who are stewarding a future for all. For any of us who feel we are different, we know our livability is threatened. For any of us who find sanctuary on the dance floor, perhaps we now embody fear and grief. For any of us who see ourselves in the beauty which becomes trans, we know that our politicians are trying to erase and make that beauty invisible. For any of us who have bathroom anxiety, me included, we know that anti-trans legislation creates conditions for anti-trans futures. And this kind of future creates even more anxiety for us. Yet, even in the many forms of death, we are here. We are here with our growing families of choice. We are resilient in the face of death-dealing logics of empire. We are here together, en conjunto. May our resilience be the future we build. May our beauty shine forth brightly in every form. May our sanctuaries be restored by hope for another possible world. May our grief and fear be soothed by the love we have for each other and ourselves, even on the days when it's hard to love ourselves or anyone else. May the light of our community show us the way when there is no way. I'd like to invite us to sing together if you feel moved. It's just one line, and it goes, "We are surrounded by love." There's a song by a beautiful chorus, and I'll start. We are surrounded by love. 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 Keep singing, you might look around and see. We are surrounded by love. 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 Thank you. I believe Morgan is next.
Hi, wow, okay. My name is Morgan, and I'm a third-generation Nashvilleian. I feel like 18 years ago, I moved away from this place because as I started to discover that I was probably somewhere in the gay to queer spectrum, I felt too terrified to come out in a place like Tennessee. And it took me all over the country, and I came back, and the only thing that's different is, to be honest, my voice might break here, I was scared to come tonight because I'm not a pastor, I'm not a rabbi, I'm not anyone other than one human being who knows what it's like to make love on the dance floor. And when you don't know where you belong and what kind of safe space exists, these queer places become safe havens for you. It became a safe place for me. So when I saw what happened, my heart broke because it feels so hard to be terrified again and again just to be the person who wants to love the way that they want to love. So I'm going to say their names again because they are why we're here tonight. Daniel Davis Aston, Derrick Rump, Ashely Paugh, Raymond Green Vance, Kelly Loving. The difference between when I left Nashville 18 years ago and this moment now is that I never could have imagined that I would get to gather in a place like this, openly proud to be who I am and proud to be who we are, and know that no matter what they're trying to do in institutions like the ones behind me, we will always keep fighting for what is right. This is my song, Pretend Rainbow. Pretend that there's a rainbow hanging over me. Happy can't be far now, as far as I can see. Yeah, I want it to be somewhere, somewhere I believe. Pretending there's a rainbow that's hanging over Tennessee. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Olivia Blake, pronounced she, her. I serve on the board of Inclusion Tennessee, and we wanted to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And before we depart, we'd like to read the names of those who are no longer with us, as well as some reflections from their friends and family. But before we do that, I'd like to pass the mic to my colleague Jordan.
I'm Jordan Constantine. I serve with Olivia on the board of Inclusion Tennessee. We'd like to thank all of our elected officials who've joined us tonight to honor the lives of those who were lost in Club Q. State Senator Heidi Campbell, State Representative Bill Beck, Vice Mayor Jim Shulman, the LGBT Caucus, Emily Benedict, Russ Bradford, Brett Withers, Zach Young, Jeff Syracuse, Freddie O'Connell, Sean Parker, Sandra Sepulveda, Tom Cash, Russ Pulley, and Berkeley Allen.
Tonight, we honor those whose lives have been lost to this senseless act of violence against our LGBTQIA+ community in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Daniel Aston. Daniel Aston was a bar supervisor at Club Q. He was the best supervisor anybody could have asked for, said Michael Anderson, who worked with Aston and considered him a friend. He made me want to come into work, and he made me want to be a part of the positive culture we were trying to create there. He added that Aston was an amazing person. He was a light in my life, Anderson said. Aston moved to Colorado Springs 2 years ago to be closer to his mother and father. The club was a few minutes from their home. Aston was 4 when he told his mother he was a boy, and it was another decade before he came out as transgender. His mother told media outlets he thought himself bashful, but that wasn't the case. He never knew a stranger, even as a kid, she said. He's always said I'm shy, but he wasn't. He wrote poetry, he loved to dress up, he got into drama in high school. He's an entertainer. That's what he really loves. May we remember Daniel Aston, age 28, and those he's left behind.
Kelly Loving. Kelly Loving was visiting Colorado Springs for a weekend trip from her Denver home. She was known for being kind and caring to the people around her. She was loving, always trying to help the next person out instead of thinking of herself. She just was a caring person, her sister Tiffany said over the weekend. A close friend of Loving's, Natalie Sky Bingham, said she was like a trans mother who taught her how to be tough and move through the world as a trans woman. In the gay community, you create your families, so it's like I lost my real mother, Bingham continued. May we remember Kelly Loving, age 40, and those she has left behind.
Ashely Paugh. Ashely Paugh was a dedicated employee of a nonprofit in the Colorado Springs area that helped kids in foster homes find permanent, loving, and supportive homes. Her family shared that she would do anything for her kids and passionately traveled all over southeastern Colorado to raise awareness and encourage individuals and families to become foster parents to children in the community. Ashely's daughter, Riley, was her whole world. She loved her family and was a loving aunt with many nieces and nephews who are devastated by this loss. May we remember Ashely Paugh, age 35, and those she left behind.
Derrick Rump. Derrick Rump was a bartender at Club Q who'd found a community of people that he loved really much, and he felt that he could shine there. And he did, his sister told media outlets over the weekend. He made a difference in so many people's lives, and that's where he wanted to be. If you walked into the club and heard Britney Spears playing, you knew Rump was working the bar, said Jesse Hazelwood, who met Rump in Aston shortly after moving to Colorado Springs. When Hazelwood first arrived in the city, she was unsure what the LGBTQ scene might look like, and it was people like Rump and Aston who made Club Q feel like home, she said. May we remember Derrick Rump, age 38, and those he's left behind.
Raymond Green Vance. Raymond Green Vance was visiting Club Q for the first time with his longtime girlfriend, her parents, and some of her parents' friends. Unfortunately, he never made it out of the club. Raymond had just started a new job at FedEx in Colorado Springs and was thrilled to have just received his first paycheck. Raymond lived with his mother and younger brother, who described him as kind, selfless, and a young man with his entire life ahead of him. May we remember Raymond Green Vance, age 22, and all those he has left behind. On behalf of all of us from Inclusion Tennessee, we want to say thank you for coming out to support our community tonight. May you go home in peace and safety. Thank you.